good morning, and happy Friday to everybody. Today is April the 3rd. It's an absolutely gorgeous day out here in the Temecula wine country. Thanks so much for joining us today. My name's Ty. I'm one of the guest service manager here at Ponte Winery, and I'm here with my friend and co-worker Laura. And today we're going to take you on a tour of the winery, but most importantly, it's geared around what we do in the area of sustainability. April is Earth Month. So we really emphasize a lot of our sustainable practices here at the winery. But what we're going to show you today is not just something that we do during the month of April. We literally do this all year long.
All year long.
Ponte is really what's called, we are a sustainable winery, are we not?
We are. We're part of the California Sustainable Wine Growers Alliance. Every year we are audited, and we've done this for 10 years now. This will be our 10th year here in 2020. We focus on what is called the 3 E's. That's environment, economy, and social equity. So those are things like controlling our water use, our electric use, but also taking great care of our employees and our neighbors, our guests, and making sure that we're doing everything as sustainable as possible. And part of that is a yearly audit process. So welcome to our sustainability tour.
There's a couple of things that we do that we even get our wine club members and just even our regular customers involved in. Some practices that we do right here at the winery that they, not just in April, but all year long.
All year long. So one of our things in the wine club, or in the tasting room, is our recork program. You guys are welcome to bring in your corks all year long, not just this month of April, which is Earth Month, but all year long. They go in the box and they get shipped out and get recycled by a company called Recork.
And then so when people, one thing that we do is people can bring back their Ponte Winery bottles.
They can.
And then for every Ponte bottle of wine they bring back empty, you have to drink it first. And then we'll give you a $1 off voucher coupon to use for future purchases. It's $1 off, one per bottle.
One per bottle. But that again is all year long. We encourage you to bring those back. We will recycle them for you and make sure they go into the recycling program. But we recycle all our bottles here, and we'll recycle your bottles for you as well. And that coupon never hurts.
It never hurts. So Laura, not only do we do stuff here in the taste room, there's some other things that we also do in our fermentation area and in the tank yard. If you guys want to come this way with us, because I know there's a lot of things that people don't really think about. It's fascinating to me because I'm more so in this area here in the tasting room. Laura and her expertise is a lot about what we do in our fermentation area. This is where we make the wine. This is where the grapes are pressed and crushed. And you might think, well, what does that have to do with sustainability? But quite a bit, as Laura's going to show you guys some of the things that we do back here in our fermentation area.
So one of the things we do is we recycle our water when we clean our tanks. We'll give you a quick demonstration of how this works. Back up just a little there, Angie. We don't want to get you splashed. Normally we have a tarp on that, but the water comes down, it's got the chemicals in it, we're cleaning our tanks, but we're going to use that water 3 or 4 times on different tanks to make sure that first round of cleaning is used well. So we don't just dump this water every time when we're taking out all those tartrates and the initial big cleaning out of the tank. We want to do that right away. So, and recycle that water whenever we can. The other thing we do here is we use what's called neutral barrels, not just new barrels. A lot of people probably ask you about our barrels, right?
We get a lot of questions about the barrels.
Yeah, so we do have new barrels. We buy new barrels every year, but we try to keep that to a minimum. You know, every barrel takes a tree out of the forest, and so neutral wine barrels are good for micro-oxygenation of wine. That helps soften the tannins. That makes your wine better for color and stability. So we want to use these barrels and keep them healthy for as long as we can. So a barrel can be used even when it's not new and giving up all that oak flavor. It can still be used to make good wine.
And people ask that a lot because of the fact that it is wood. You know, we're cutting trees for it, and so they will say, do you just use that barrel one time and toss it out? But really, you can use a barrel. It's really as many times as you guys want.
As many as we want, as long as we're keeping it healthy. We have very strict protocols on cleaning them, keeping them, you know, in very good condition. But once they no longer are giving up their oak, they are still very good for our wine as a vessel that encourages that micro-oxygenation.
Definitely. It's super cool. And all this that you're seeing back here, when things are normal and we're living in regular times, we do winery tours. We would love to take you guys back here as well and show you not just this, but the actual winemaking process as well. So we're going to make our way over to our hotel now, because there's the winery, Ponte itself, we opened in June of 2003. So the winery's been here for quite a while. I think it was like the 19th winery that was constructed. When the winery opened, we were not involved in any kind of sustainable practices. Really, that came several years later as our owners. How did you know how that evolved as far as that?
2011 was the first year that we completed the audit process. It was probably about a year process before that to really take a look at what was required of us, where we needed to improve to qualify, and then move forward with the actual audit process. So 2011 was our very first year of that. But Claudio, always considered sustainable practices. They're good, fiscally to make those decisions. We just tightened things up and made things better, and took the advice of the California Sustainable Wine Growers Alliance in seeing that done.
Yeah, it's really neat. I know for me personally, and I just have to admit it, being here, I've been with the winery for about 13 years now. I didn't really get into all the sustainability stuff, other than I threw my little, bottles at home in the recycling bin. But being around it and being around what this winery does, I have to say, not only has it been impressive to me, it's impactful to me personally, and it's been awesome to be a part of it here at the winery. But these are practices that, for me, I've taken home.
Yeah.
Because we've taken steps here at the winery to use things that we clean with that are green, chemical-free, and I've transferred that into my home. You come to my house,
everything's green.
Everything is green. It is chemical free, and it's awesome. It really is. These are things that you can just use practically, and I wish I had seen this a long time earlier, but I'm grateful to the winery here, because this is how I was introduced to all of this.
Yeah, and like I said, the audit process is pretty rigorous. There's over 112 items for the winery and 138 for the vineyard itself. So each of those things is a separate audit process, and we take it very seriously.
And it's really neat to think too, because this is not just a one-time thing. This is something we do on an ongoing basis.
Every year.
You don't just get certified and then, hey, we're done. No, you've got to keep it up. Okay, so
we have a guest question.
Oh, yeah.
Do you compost waste from restaurants and from the restaurant and vineyard?
We absolutely do. Every year when we harvest, we've got the pumice, we've got the skins, that's the pumice. We have the leaves and the stems that come off the harvest. All the organic waste from the kitchens, that all goes back to a very big compost way in the back of our vineyard, and it gets turned on a regular basis, just like you might do in your garden. But this is a very big, long pile, about the size of a semi-truck, that we take care of. And once it's ready, we use that in our landscaping and in the vineyard itself. So
pretty cool.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the olive trees. I love our olive trees, and we make our own olive oil out of these olive trees. So not only do we have a grove in the vineyard, but we also, all the trees that you see when you come to Ponte that look just like landscaping, they're actually working olive trees. So we harvest those in November and December, and have our own olive oil press that you get to sell in the tasting room.
We do. It's an Arbequina, and I'm telling you what, if you like olive oil, when you taste the difference between this stuff and stuff you may just buy in the store, I don't know, it's hard for me to describe it because it's not wine, but this is the real deal. This olive oil is the real deal. It is amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
And so using those trees that are very good for the environment, they don't require a whole lot of water, and we also then use those olives here at the winery. So we feel that that's a nice sustainable practice for us.
I want to, if you don't mind, we're switching gears here. When we do our tours, a lot of times people always ask us, and we're passing by some vines right here, and they'll say, what are those little hoses that are hanging from the vines that we see here? What is that? Of course, we tell them, oh, it's how we water the grapes, which is called, if I'm not mistaken, a micro drip irrigation.
Is correct.
And unbeknownst to a lot of people, myself included at the beginning, I was very surprised at how little water the grapes, we'll switch sides with you if you want to point over that way, how little water the grapes actually take.
Correct. So we have in the ground throughout the vineyards, we have over 160 acres of vineyards. In the ground in the vineyards, we have sensors that sense moisture, and they go deep down, and we sense that moisture from about 1.5 feet all the way up to the surface. So we only water when the grapes need it, when these vines need it. Or not today, but right now it's spring. We've had bud break, we've got green, so we're starting to water or make our vines healthy and happy, but we will only water exactly what they need. Our vineyard consultant knows how much they need, and we make sure and only give them that, and so we're not wasting water. We don't just wholesale water the whole vineyard.
And the watering is essential because this is a really cool time of year. What do we have here?
We have bud break. We have the growth. Green is coming.
Yeah, our growing season typically starts, what, mid-March or so?
Mid-March, yeah. We look at bud break sometime between the 1st and 3rd week of March. So.
And so it's not going to really look like it, but literally right there, that right there, these are the grapes. Doesn't look like it's so cool. And it's amazing how fast the process goes.
Yep.
Laura, concerning the watering now, because people will ask all the time, about how often do you water the vines?
It really depends on the grape and the time in their life cycle. Early on, a little more often. Later in the season, when it's gonna be closer to harvest, we'll cut that watering way back because we want less water in those grapes and more sugars, which makes better alcohol.
So when people ask me, I want to hear your answer. They'll say, do the grapes take as much water as like avocados?
No, actually, grapes are one of the better water conscious commodities. Citrus, avocados, they'll take a lot more water. In fact, I think California even has a program where citrus groves can be switched out into vineyards because they do take so much less water.
And it was really neat to me that during the height of the drought, when we were having our drought time, people would ask, is that affecting the watering? And it didn't, because to the best of my knowledge, I believe that for wineries, there were no restrictions placed on them because of the lack of the little water that the grapes actually take.
Like you said, the micro drip system, we want to make sure that we are only watering the very bare minimum. Obviously, we are in a desert-ish environment, but we still keep that to just the minimum that's required for our vines.
So as I said earlier, Ponte opened in June of 2003. And then just a handful of years later, we decided, because it was a need we felt out here in the wine country, was to build a hotel or an inn. And in the spring of 2012, we were so excited to launch and open Ponte Vineyard Inn, which is what we're getting ready to walk up on right now. And this, I have to say, and we'll get into some specifics, this entire facility really was built with sustainability in mind.
It was. I've heard that as well. I think as we come around the corner here and pan through to the inn, you'll see the beautiful verandas, I guess is probably the appropriate word, that are well shaded. That was oriented in such a way that those rooms would stay cool and the shade would be good for all the inn rooms. So,
but before we get into a couple of specifics with the inn itself, do you mind? Because I was just now noticing out in the vineyard, and people ask about this on the tours. We have bird boxes out here, and so people say, "What do you guys do sustainably in the vineyard? What are the practices out there that you guys would do?" And I know the bird boxes are a large part of that.
Bird boxes are a large part of that. We want to naturally encourage raptors. Owls, the red-shouldered hawks. There's a couple other hawks that are native to this area, Harris hawks, and we encourage them to live in our vineyard. They help control our rodent population, which means we don't have to do anything to poison those animals. We certainly don't want to do that. That causes a negative effect to the environment. So the bird boxes encourage them to nest, to make this their home, to make this their home territory, and that helps keep control on our rodent population.
And I remember before the bird boxes showed up, I remember there was a time they said where the ground pest population was kind of out of control. So in come the bird boxes, and I always tell people, of course I'm dating myself here, if you remember the old movie Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. And they did.
They came. We have owls, we have hawks, and you go out in the vineyard and you see quite a lot of them, so that's always very cool. We also encourage other birds. We don't tear down any nest. We encourage, while we don't love rodents, we're not going to poison them. We're going to make sure and try to control them naturally. We also encourage beneficial insects. We keep our ground covers in ways that's going to encourage those beneficial insects. We also avoid, there's called a red and yellow list for the sustainability that we do the audit. And part of that is avoiding herbicides, pesticides, fungicides that are on those red and yellow lists, things that have been determined to have a negative environmental impact. So we don't use those. We use the things on the green list, that are better for our vines and for the environment. So.
If you are watching live, feel free to shoot some questions through. We'll answer them to the best of our ability. One thing I wanted to ask you about too is a while back we were having some bird problems even at our restaurant. Just little small birds. They were at first kind of cute, and we told people don't feed the birds, but they did.
They did.
Then they started getting aggressive. They're landing on tables, trying to steal the bread. So we did something super cool, and I love this. You can talk about that.
Well, we brought in a company that literally flew their own hawks and falcons, Floyd and
Apollo,
and they would come 2 to 3 times a week during that very heavy, pest bird season. That really made the pest birds kind of decided that was not a fun place to be.
And this was not a gradual process either. The minute Floyd and Apollo showed up, those other birds were gone. Yeah. It was amazing to see that.
It was amazing, yeah. And it was, it was again sustainable. We weren't harming anybody. We weren't killing those birds. We were just encouraged them to be elsewhere.
Let's talk about the hotel now. We'll come over this way a little bit, Laura. Again, as we had said, this whole facility obviously was built with sustainability in mind, because when we opened it up, we were well into our sustainable practices, even over at the winery. But this structure, of course, was built with sustainability in mind. It obviously, I don't want to get ahead of you, but there are solar panels. Even the rooms are designed, and I know a lot of people don't like this, because when you leave your room for the day in the summer, you want to freeze it out, so it's cold, but it won't allow you to do that. But it doesn't take long to cool off at all. And I think you said something, it's partly because of the way the hotel is positioned.
The way it's positioned, the way they designed those covers, so you get a nice cool breeze coming through. The position of our new wing over here allows the nice shade, so you open up the doors, let that breeze come through. The solar panels here, they're on the far side of this roof, but they do warm up our pool as well. So I think that's
really cool.
That's a really cool feature.
I get a lot of questions, and the answers, of course, are always the same, but I want to have you answer. When people will come through, and they come through and they see the garden, they see the courtyard, and they're expecting it's going to look like Hawaii, this lush tropical paradise. Why doesn't it?
Well, I think it's still paradise. I think this is absolutely paradise. But if you notice, if Angie wants to pan a little bit there, we've got a lot of natural plants here. They're all natural. They're from this area. They're meant for a desert environment. You see succulents, you see yucca, you see plants that are made for this environment. So we don't need to water them a lot. We don't need to worry about them dying in the 100-degree heat. We've chosen plants with that in mind, and those landscaping decisions are part of our sustainability practice.
Absolutely, because like you said, you don't have to water them as much. If you did have these lush tropical plants, well, then you're just going to be dumping water into them, which would go completely against what we're doing.
We've got a great landscaping team here that keeps everything looking beautiful and pristine, but we do make those good choices about not having things that require a ton of water.
One of the things that adds to the relaxation here, but then there's sustainability in mind as well, of course, is the pond.
It's beautiful.
People love it, and they love it. And
oh, look, we have a duck today too.
We got a little visitor. He wants to be on camera.
Part of our pond, it does have the fountains that naturally aerate it, and part of that is our windmill. And the windmill, when it's blowing enough wind, it's pretty calm today, but when it is blowing enough wind, then that generates the power to make the aeration work. So that's part of our sustainability, is that natural windmill that is a working windmill. It's not just for show.
One of our co-workers always talks about that 4 o'clock Temecula breeze that you can always count on. And you do it, boy, you will see that windmill spinning. It's pretty amazing. One of the things I wanted to mention as well, as far as the sustainability in our hotel, is the hotel is a part of a program called Clean the World.
Clean the World. Clean the World is really great. They take the leftover soaps from your rooms, if you're a guest here, those partial bars and stuff, they send them to Clean the World, and the shampoos, and they clean them and recycle them and turn them into new bars of soap that get sent to countries all over the world that need that. And that helps the children and the young moms that need to avoid cholera and pneumonia and those diseases, where just easy sanitation, washing your hands, keeping your babies clean, can make such a difference. So I think that's a great way to help not just our immediate
Yes.
the community of the world.
As we begin to kind of wrap this thing up here, just a reminder, April is Earth Month.
Earth Month.
And we are celebrating sustainability. But again, like we said at the beginning, our practices and the things that we do here at the winery are not just something that we do in the month of April.
No, it's
we
all year
really and
long.
truly do them all year long.
Yeah, and we invite your questions. Part of my job here at the winery is to do the sustainability audit. So if you have a question, our wonderful marketing team will make sure we get you the answers that you need, so you can help make Ponte even more sustainable by your knowledge of our processes. I think that's a good thing to do.
Absolutely. And again, right now we're still on limited hours. We're here for you guys Wednesday through Sunday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Yep.
We're looking forward to the day that we can get back up and running
Yep.
into full, because this is just kind of wet my whistle again. It's just, I can't wait to get back out there and doing our tours and,
Yeah.
and showing people, literally going through the vineyards. We can actually show them not only what we do with winemaking, because that is the crux of our business, and grape growing, but also with what we do sustainability, because I think what you guys do, it's a lot to be proud of.
It
You guys
is.
work hard.
Well,
And,
we've tried to social distance here during the talk, and we hope you guys are staying happy and healthy in these times. But if you need a bottle of wine, Ty is going to be here to make sure you get what you need, and we are happy to answer any of your questions.
and sell you wine. I saw on the news the other day that alcohol sales have gone up almost 600%. So
Really?
I'm not kidding. It's a stressful time we're living in, but
Well, we do have plenty of wine for you.
Yeah.
We're still making the vines are coming to life. We will have a 2020 harvest here,
Yes.
and we're looking forward to it.
all right. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you soon here at Ponte Winery.